Israel's government rules to end its occupation of the Gaza Strip. Israeli armed forces are ordered to remove the 8,500 Jewish settlers living there. The settlers vow to resist at every step. The man with the mission to deport them is Brigadier General Gershon HaKohen. The task will make him question his deepest convictions.
It is absolutely brothers against brothers. It is a disaster.
The idea of Jewish soldiers deporting fellow Jews has divided the whole country. Gershon will have his troops compared to Hitler's Nazis. His soldiers will have to tear crying families from their homes and rabbis from their synagogues. If the evacuation turns into a bloody battle, it could tear Israel apart. Day one of the pull-out operation. In all, 20,000 troops are positioned around the Gaza settlements known as Gush Katif. But Brigadier General Gershon HaKohen's force of 12,000 will be on the front line. Gershon has a 30-year combat career, but in this operation he must avoid violence at all costs. Many in Israel fear that a violent clash between settlers and the army could ignite a civil war.
The potential of bloody struggle is there, and it is open. This threat that maybe someone will lose his control. Mistakes would be very, very dramatic mistakes for the whole future of our nation here in Israel.
The settlers, supported by protesters all over the country, have sworn to fight the evacuation. They believe that the Gaza Strip is holy Jewish land that should never be handed to the Palestinians. Today, these troops will come face to face with the settlers for the first time. The army hopes that when the settlers see the scale of the operation, they will understand that resistance is futile.
The presence of the military forces will create the feeling that they can't just wait and wait. The day is coming.
The first day will set the tone for the entire operation. Gershon leads the 4,000 troops allocated to the largest settlement, Neve Kalim. Under his command is a unique combination of soldiers, police officers and border guards.
טיפשי להביא חיילים ושוטרים בכמויות פרשים בשביל מה? לגרש את האחים שלהם מהבית, רק בשביל שהאחים שלהם שבנווה קלים יעופו מהבית ושזה יהיה הבית של הערבי.
בדיוק כמו שאמרו את זה בגירוש ספרד וכמו שאמרו במשטר של סטלין וגם בגרמניה, הם רק קיימו פקודות. עד מתי אתם תתנהגו ככה? איפה הרחמים שלך? איפה הרחמנות? תגור יתומים מהמיטות שלהם? בוא הביתה, תחליף את הסדינים, לילדים כל לילה עושים ביבי במיטה כי יש גרשון כהן שהולך לבצע את הפקודה, גרש אותם מהבית.
At the entrance to the settlement of Neve Kalim, 500 protesters are blocking the main gate. Gershon must keep up the momentum of the evacuation without provoking the settlers into bitter resistance. His strategy is to allow the settlers to express their anger, hoping they'll have no appetite to harm their country's own soldiers. 1,000 containers are ready to transport the settlers' belongings. the settlers will have just tomorrow to pack and leave peacefully. Anyone left on the third day will be removed by force. But many settlers are refusing to even acknowledge the orders. For them, it's not just an order to abandon their homes, but the man with the mission to deport them is Brigadier General Gershon Hacohen. The task will make him question his deepest convictions.
It is absolutely brothers against brothers.
It is a disaster.
The idea of Jewish soldiers deporting fellow Jews has divided the whole country. Gershon will have his troops compared to Hitler's Nazis. His soldiers will have to tear crying families from their homes and rabbis from their synagogues. If the evacuation turns into a bloody battle, it could tear Israel apart. Day one of the pull-out operation. In all, 20,000 troops are positioned around the Gaza settlements known as Gush Katif. But Brigadier General Gershon Hacohen's force of 12,000 will be on the front line. Gershon has a 30-year combat career, but in this operation he must avoid violence at all costs. Many in Israel fear that a violent clash between settlers and the army could ignite a civil war.
The potential of bloody struggle is there, and it is open. This is threat that maybe someone will lose his control. Mistakes would be very, very dramatic mistakes for the whole future of our nation here in Israel.
The settlers, supported by protesters all over the country, have sworn to fight the evacuation. They believe that the Gaza Strip is holy Jewish land that should never be handed to the Palestinians. Today, these troops will come face to face with the settlers for the first time. The army hopes that when the settlers see the scale of the operation, they will understand that resistance is futile.
The presence of the military forces will create the feeling that they can't just wait and wait. The day is coming.
The first day will set the tone for the entire operation. Gershon leads the 4,000 troops allocated to the largest settlement, Nevet Kalim. Under his command is a unique combination of soldiers, police officers and border guards.
טיפשי להביא חיילים ושוטרים בכמויות פרשים בשביל מה? לגרש את האחים שלהם מהבית? רק בשביל שהאחים שלהם שבנווה דקלים יעופו מהבית ושזה יהיה הבית של הערבי.
בדיוק כמו שאמרו את זה בגירוש ספרד וכמו שאמרו במשטר של סטלין וגם בגרמניה, הם רק קיימו פקודות. עד מתי אתם תתנהגו ככה? איפה הרחמים שלך? איפה הרחמנות? תגור יתומים מהמיטות שלהם? בוא הביתה, תחליף את הסדינים, לילדים כל לילה עושים ביבי במיטה כי יש גרשון כהן שהולך לבצע את הפקודה, גרש אותם מהבית.
At the entrance to the settlement of Nevet Kalim, 500 protesters are blocking the main gate. Gershon must keep up the momentum of the evacuation without provoking the settlers into bitter resistance. His strategy is to allow the settlers to express their anger, hoping they'll have no appetite to harm their country's own soldiers. 1,000 containers are ready to transport the settlers' belongings. The settlers will have just tomorrow to pack and leave peacefully. Anyone left on the third day will be removed by force. But many settlers are refusing to even acknowledge the orders. For them, it's not just an order to abandon their homes, but the entire meaning of their lives. As religious Zionists, they believe the Gaza land has been given to them by God, and Jews must live there for the whole of mankind to be redeemed and the Messiah to arrive. These beliefs have brought them into head-to-head conflict with their own government.
This is another operation other than war, very huge operation, very unique, because it is inside our own country with our own people. And a lot of my company commanders coming, for example, from Gaza Strip itself. So it is absolutely brothers against brothers.
This army of conscripts contains many who are deeply personally opposed to the idea of a Jewish army deporting Jews from their home. The troops are confronted with emotional appeals that what they're doing is immoral.
One of the elements that we believe will help us thwart the plan is the tens of thousands of soldiers who are going to refuse to carry out this order. We were all educated that the army is holy. The army is holy as long as it carries out what it is meant to do, to defend the Israeli people and fight the Arab terrorists. And I wonder how Gershon Cohen does not try to stop this and, like a robot, is fulfilling the orders. I have no compassion for him. I have no feeling for him.
Gershon's own background has led some to question his ability to lead this mission. His brothers and sisters live in West Bank settlements. His parents were amongst the founders of the settler movement.
When I informed my father and I got this mission, he said, "Oy vavoy." It means, yes, terrible. And then he said immediately, without waiting to my answer, "But you have no choice, you must do it." I am a soldier serving this state. For me, it is absolutely clear what I have to do. I have to fulfill my order.
The settlers are determined to make his mission as difficult as possible. The protesters behind Nevet Kalim Gate are refusing to move. The overall commander of the disengagement, Major General Dan Harel, comes to see how Gershon's ground troops are advancing. He's keen to keep to timetable and for Gershon not to lose the initiative.
עכשיו לקחת את הדבר הזה, להביא כאן ערכת כריזה, להגיד להם חברים, אתם הפגנה בלתי חוקית, אנחנו מבקשים מכם להיכנס. אם לא, טרח לקחת הסירייה, לוודא שיש לנו מספיק כוח, חוץ מהיס"מניקים שעומדים בעיגול צריך פה עוד 200 יס"מניקים, ולהיות ערוכים לדבר הזה. אבל כשנכנסים גרשון, אתה נכנס, יש לך מספיק כוח.
Gershon must find a solution fast if his philosophy of non-violence is to win out. If open fighting breaks out between settler and soldier, it could spread throughout the settlements and beyond. All over the Jewish settlements of Gush Katif in the Gaza Strip, settlers are blocking the army from entering.
Hi, are you in your 50s or 60s, staring at retirement?
Physical barriers can be removed with relative ease, but the settlers know that if the troops injure children, students and rabbis, the pullout will lose its fragile public support. At the main settlement of Nevet Kalim, settlers have formed a human shield behind the gate. The tactical police unit starts cutting another way in, but their presence is escalating the tension. The settlers complain that their uniforms remind them of Hitler's black-clad SS stormtroopers. Gershon's keen to defuse the confrontation, but overall commander Dan Harel doesn't want the settlers to be dictating terms.
מכיוון שמכל הכיוונים עולות טענות על השחור, אין לנו בעיה הלילה להחליף להם לכולם.
יש לי בעיה, אני רוצה שיהיה שחור. בסדר, שיפסיקו לעבוד לנו על המצפון. גרשון, ברצינות, נו, כבר מגיע...
לא, אין לי בעיה בכלל עם המצפון, לא זאת השאלה. השאלה היא, גנב, זה
גרשון, הכל מציק להם. אתה יודע מה החברה שלך באה לשכנע אותי? שאני אוציא את
שאנחנו לא יכולים
היס"מניקים?
לעשות.
Gershon knows many of the settler leaders personally. He doesn't want to use force unless there's no other option. So he compromises. He'll withdraw the black uniform troops if the settlers open the gates. The gate is opened. The trucks carrying containers for the settlers' possessions can now enter Nevet Kalim. Both sides have made some early concessions and stepped back from using force. The settlers have shown their anger, but Gershon's got the trucks through.
So now we are achieving our main goal, and this is to try by goodwill, to do what could be done only by goodwill. זה ייקח זמן, זה ייקח סבלנות. מי שקנה כרטיס לראות ויקטורי לא יקבל את זה, לא היום ולא מחר, וצריך פה הרבה סבלנות, ולי יש.
The army is now inside the settlement, but many settlers are still praying for a miracle. Rabbi Leafsheets and his wife have lived in Gaza for 12 years. They have 7 children. They are putting their faith, quite literally, in divine intervention.
תשמעו, יש משפחות, כמו שאתם ראיתם, שכבר ארזו את הכל, את כל הבית, את כל, פירקו, לא יודע מה, אפילו מנורות וזה. פירקו ויש כאלה שעברו דירה וישנו. אנחנו החלטנו שאנחנו במסירות נפש עד הסוף, בשביל ארץ ישראל, כי מאמינים גם שנס יכול לבוא עד הסוף, ולכן אנחנו לא עושים כלום. ככה החלטנו, אבל...
אז מי שעבר דירה הוא יחזור.
על מה נתפלל? שלא יפנו את גוש קטיף. מה עוד נתפלל?
מתי הוא שולח היום? מחר.
אחד.
אתה חונן לאדם דעת ומלמד לאנוש בינה וחוננו מתך.
Throughout Gush Katif, the settlers gather to pray. This small community of fortified settlements exists amidst Gaza's 1.3 million Palestinians. For 30 years, they've been subsidized by the government and protected by the army from Palestinian attacks.
In recent years, following what we call the first Intifada and then the last 4 or 5 years of conflict, it became much harder for those people to live there. A lot of mortar shells, snipers, many terror attacks invading into those settlements, killing people in their homes.
For the Palestinians, the settlers are squatters on stolen land. The settlers believe they've created a flourishing community out of the desert, an achievement that's about to be destroyed.
יש כאן אנשים לא יודעים מה זה גוש קטיף. אנחנו חושבים שזה כמה קרוונים עם איזה דשא ליד. גוש קטיף זה דבר ענק, זה כסף עצום שהולך לטמיון.
ויש כאלה מפעלים עוד מאות ומאות פה. רק את המשתלה פה זה 30 מיליון דולר שהולכים לעקור כאן. זה הרס עצום, עצום. כל מי שישתף פעולה, אם זה פוליטיקאים, אם זה אנשי צבא, כל מי שישתף פעולה במעשה הזה, לא יהיה לו חיים אחרי זה. לא יהיה לו חיים, הוא גמר עם החיים שלו.
As long as the Israeli government wanted them or agreed that they'll be there, they could sustain. Once the Israeli government had taken a decision to evacuate them, they tried to change this decision, but it was clear to all of us that if they can't change the decision in a democratic way, they will have to leave.
The houses will be destroyed, the people will be evacuated, no one will stay here. We are going to destroy Gush Katif, and in the next week, nothing will stay.
The settlers have been offered compensation for the value of their houses and new homes within Israel's legal borders, but 60% refused. Of those that remain to confront the army, many are armed. Others have threatened suicide. The settlers cannot stop 20,000 troops. The question is how traumatic they'll make the mission, for themselves and for the whole of Israel.
They are sitting on the railway track and the engine with all speed is running and there is no time already to stop the train. And they have just two choices, either to stay on the tracks and then the end is very clear and they'll be responsible, or to jump out.
Early morning on day 2. Some settlers have reluctantly accepted army instructions and are packing their possessions, but most are still refusing to leave. The Leapsheets family haven't packed a single bag. Know that tomorrow the troops will try to evacuate them by force.
עכשיו, מה זה בכוח? מי שלא יתנגד ויצא, אז לא צריך כוח. אבל אם מישהו יתנגד, יפעילו כוח.
אבל אבא, יכול להיות שיהיו יריות. החיילים הם לא עליהם. אבל יכול להיות שיהיו יריות.
תשמע, מה הערבים יעשו?
לא, נגדנו.
מצידם, חס וחלילה. חס וחלילה. מה פתאום? בעזרת השם, כל הזמן נהיה כל המשפחה ביחד, וזה הדבר הכי חשוב. אז זה הדבר הכי חשוב.
Rabbi Leafsheets and his family join a prayer march to the synagogue. With just hours to go before the army's deadline, it's a gesture of mass defiance. The prayer march has given the settlers an opportunity. Over 1,000 young protesters have entered the synagogue and are refusing to move. For centuries, Jews have run to their synagogues for sanctuary from persecution. Now Gershon and his officers face dragging praying Jews from a holy temple. The army's been outmaneuvered. The commanders are briefed on the situation.
כנראה פה לנו איזשהו פער מודיעיני, היה איזשהו טקס חניכה של מקווה נראה בית הכנסת.
You'll never pay for Netflix again after seeing this.
Netflix and Apple pray you never find out about this. This tiny device.
ואז כל היישוב היה שם, וכל זה, בהחלט מבין... מה? תודה.
היית בוכה איתנו, תמיד היה יותר שם. יד לאחי.
הכאב לא תלוי בעוצמת הבכי, ולא זה מה שאני מחויב להביע.
תודה.
טוב, ליבנו איתכם.
It's clear to Gershon that many families won't give up hope while the synagogues are still full of protesters. It's become crucial that he ends the synagogue occupation. Then he gets news that 5 kilometers away in a neighbouring settlement, Kfar Darom, another synagogue protest has turned violent.
לא, אין לי גדוד כזה כרגע. אין לי כרגע. כרגע אין סיכוי. אין סיכוי כרגע.
150 young protesters, mainly from outside Gush Katif, are entrenched in the synagogue at Kfar Darom. They are throwing chemicals and paint on the troops below. Faced with the prospect of hand-to-hand fighting with the settlers, one young soldier refuses to carry on. He is arrested by his colleagues and removed as soon as possible. Kfar Darom synagogue has only 150 young settlers inside. There are 1,300 at the synagogues at Nevet Kalim. A violent clash inside a synagogue on this scale would be a disaster for all involved.
Very, very complicated, sensitive, and we are going to solve it, first of all, with the wisdom. We are trying now to collect the wisdom.
Gershon postpones the evacuation of the synagogue until tomorrow. He needs more time to work out a solution. Day 4 of the Gaza pullout. The Gaza settlements were a major obstacle in negotiations with the Palestinians. Their removal is being hailed by some as a significant step forward on the roadmap to peace. The operation's success or failure will be watched by tens of millions around the globe.
It is an extraordinary occasion. It is all taking place on a stage.
The Israeli authorities want to convince the world they're paying a painful price for peace. But as the army prepares for the evacuation of Nevet Kalim's synagogues, the Israeli audience is holding its collective breath. As Jews, they feel they have been here before.
At the heart of it is really the trauma of uprooting. Jewish history is very much a history of being an uprooted people. And the entire Zionist project was to create a place where we will not be uprooted again. So there is something about this trauma that goes right to the heart of our Jewish Israeli existence.
Who can afford today for someone to destroy synagogues? Who can do it besides Jews? So it means that only the Jews can do it now against themselves, and this is an extraordinary situation. It is a disaster.
Religious soldiers perform their morning prayers, knowing that in just a few hours they must enter the synagogues and forcibly evacuate those praying inside. 2,000 troops are now on standby to enter. At the last moment, Gershon has assembled a battalion of women soldiers to handle the female protesters, as religious laws mean they must not be touched by men.
יש שם הרבה אנשים, וכל ההמתנה הזאת נובעת מדבר אחד. הסיפור רגיש ביותר. שני בתי הכנסת האלה מסמלים את גוש קטיף. עם ישראל מעריך מאוד את צורת ההתנהגות שלנו.
אני רוצה שתסתכל לי בעיניים כשאתה מדבר על זה.
אני מסתכל עליך
אתה מגרש אותנו מבתי הכנסת שלנו. זה מחפיר שחיילי צה"ל הולכים להחריב בתי כנסת, זה מחפיר.
אנחנו נעשה את משימתנו
אל תעשו את משימתכם.
בצורה הנכונה, כפי שלמדנו, וכפי שעשיתם עד היום, ואני מאוד מעריך...
עשיתם עד היום משימות הרבה יותר טובות, נלחמתם באויב, בטרור, לא באחים.
The army command has turned to the key rabbis of the settler movement to solve the synagogue crisis. The rabbis will try to persuade the protesters to avoid Jewish blood being spilled.
אבל הבעיה של בית הכנסת, היא תיפתר.
כיצד היא תיפתר?
היא תיפתר, אני מבקש סליחה מאנשי התקשורת אם לא יישפך דם, אני מבקש מכם סליחה.
תודה רבה.
כי הרי זה מה שאתם רוצים.
Gershon gives the rabbis an hour to do what they can.
הגיע זמן פינוי. נבקש מכם להתפנות ללא צורך בהפעלת כוח. תודה.
The rabbis have brokered a complicated face-saving agreement. The teenagers won't leave of their own accord, but have promised not to attack the soldiers if they come to drag them out.
טוב, מה הגעתם איתם?
הגענו שהם לא יעזבו בלי שנסחוב אותם.
זה מה שהגיעו אבל?
כן.
It's now 3:30 on day 4. Gershon gives the order and the troops go in. For the next 40 minutes, the synagogue of Nevet Kalim is in chaos. The majority of the protesters are under 18. Their last stand highlights the existence of a new generation of passionate young believers in the settler ideal.
אני יודע, וזה הבעיה, אתם לא יודעים, אתם מבינים אותי מתכנסת. לא בדיוק הבעיה, למה?
Whether or not they share the settlers' convictions, for many soldiers the struggle is emotional as well as physical. But despite the heartfelt appeals of the settlers, all of Gershon's troops do their job.
I think that the synagogue was the hardest thing. We hug with them and cry with them, but I felt that it's right. It's right to do it like this and not to just to come and to do it without emotion. I wanted to cry. I wanted to feel the pain. I wanted the world to see that it's not easy to give up pieces from Israel.
With the synagogue almost cleared, a spontaneous ceremony involving both settlers and soldiers takes place as the Torah, the symbol of the Jewish faith, is taken out. In a ritual usually reserved for the death of one's parent or child, a rabbi tears his shirt in mourning.
אני מבקש מכולם לנקות את בית הכנסת עכשיו, לנקות, להתחבק עם האנשים היקרים האלה ולצא איתם החוצה.
Later, some settlers will accuse these rabbis of being collaborators for cooperating with the evacuation of the synagogue. Other observers will say that throughout the pullout, the settlers stepped back from the brink and let the army win. The army see it as a vindication of command strategy. By allowing the settlers to express their pain and protest, they've given them a way of leaving Gaza, feeling they've done everything they could.
I told them that, in a way, what is important is not what really happened at the end, but what will remain is a story of struggle, not the results of the struggle. And part of them understood it. It is a way in which a human being can keep his obligations without losing his honor. If he's entering kind of confrontation in which he is doomed to lose.
Rabbi Kamenetsky sings Mashiach, a song of hope in the face of suffering and exile. With the settlements almost empty, Israel must now begin to address the consequences. Day 5. The pullout of Jewish settlers from the Gaza Strip is over. The 8,500 residents of Gush Katif have been evacuated with a speed that exceeded all the army's expectations. No lives have been lost. But as the soldiers prepare for the handover of Gush Katif to Palestinian control, no one's sure what the effect will be on the Israeli army. Some soldiers have paid a high personal price for the pullout. Gershon meets a religious soldier who was recently evicted by his own comrades. He's written a letter that he wants to read to his commanders.
אני סגרתי כיהוד, גורש היום מביתי על ידי הצבא שלי. וגורש מביתי שמדי צה"ל יישארו על גופי. על אלה אני בוכייה, עיני יורדה מים, כי לא רחוק ממני מנחם ושיב נפשי. נחמו עמי, יאמר אלוקיכם. דברו עליהם ירושלים וקראו אליה, כי לא יטוש אדוני עמו, ונחלתו לא יעזור. השם הושיע המלך יעננו ויום קוראנו.
He himself, exiled from his own house, dressed in IDF uniforms, he wanted to keep his own loyalties together and not to make the choice of either or, but still trying to find a way to show his crisis. There is still no other army, in the same way that we have no other land. We have just one land, Israel, and just one army to protect it, just the IDF. The settlers, this is a mission for the whole Israeli society. And I wish that they will get cure from what happened to them.
Along with thousands of other settlers from Gush Katif, Rabbi Lifshitz and his 7 children are living in temporary accommodation, a hotel in Jerusalem. They must find new jobs, a new home, and a new purpose for their lives. Those evacuated are now forbidden from moving into the remaining West Bank settlements. But Rabbi Lifshitz cannot imagine a future without being a settler again.
אני אגיד בצורה כזאת, והיא כתובה אצלנו בספרים שאנחנו לומדים, עם ישראל הוא הנשמה וארץ ישראל היא הגוף. התקווה שלנו שנחזור לארצנו ולבתינו, כמה שלא משנה אם יהיו בתים, לא יהיו בתים, לאדמה כמה שיותר מהר. אנחנו בטוחים שזה יהיה במוקדם ובמאוחר, כיוון שהארץ כולה מובטחת לנו, והקדוש ברוך הוא ייתן לנו את הארץ. מתי ואיך אנחנו לא יודעים. אבל זה כן אמונה ודאית. מתישהו עם ישראל יהיה כולו, על כל ארץ ישראל. ואז באמת יבוא ימות המשיח, שהם ימים טובים ושלמים לכל האנושות כולה.
After much debate, the government decided to raze the settlers' homes to the ground. The Gaza settlements are gone, but it took 20,000 troops at a cost of £1 billion to move just 8,500 settlers. In the West Bank, 200,000 settlers remain in some of the holiest sites for the Jewish faith. Any attempt to evacuate them will dwarf not only the military operation in Gaza, but the divisions it has caused. You said before that this operation could never be repeated. This was a one-off.
This is my wishes, but these are my wishes as a Jew.
Can this operation be repeated? Could it be repeated in the West Bank?
I'll not answer these questions.
The Gush Katif synagogues remain a dilemma until the end. The Palestinian Authority wants them gone, but the rabbis are adamantly against destroying them. And the army has no appetite to ask its soldiers to be part of such an act after the trauma of the pullout. The Israeli government rules to let the synagogues stay and challenges the Palestinians to treat them with respect. On September the 12th, 2005, after 38 years of Israeli occupation, Gaza is handed over to the Palestinians.